Some local workers are going to court to get their paychecks. Some protesters go to jail over a controversial military project. And local school students have to go to the doctor before they go to school. Good evening. I'm Don Cannon. Action News for Monday night is coming up next.
There are more than 2,000 different birth defects. Support the March of Dimes' efforts to prevent birth defects. The March of Dimes saves babies. Please help.
Thank you so much, Pittsburgh and the tri-state area, for your donations and your pledges.
You've been beautiful. Now, you called your pledges in, but we want to remind you to send them in.
That's right. Send them in, and send them in to this address we're going to show you. The address is United Cerebral Palsy Telethon, care of Equibank, 2 Oliver Plaza, Pittsburgh, PA, 15230. Send it in. Thank you, Pittsburgh.
From Channel 4, WTAE TV in Pittsburgh, this is Action News.
Hello, Pittsburgh. Employees for the United Dairy Farm stores have been fighting for their jobs. Last week, some of them lost that fight. But as Sally Wiggin reports tonight, many of these employees will be back in court tomorrow, fighting for what they say is theirs.
Tonight, these employees at this UDF Food Mart are grateful that they still have a job after the United Dairy Farmers Association declared bankruptcy. Schneider's Dairy bought the 49 UDF stores then and reopened many of them. But the Swissvale workers are still angry that they and other UDF employees have not received back pay for the period from December 25th to January 8th. Tomorrow, they'll hear from a judge whether UDF will ever have to pay them.
The lawyer told me that we stand a 50-50 chance of getting our pays. We have a long list of creditors, and I guess they want their money too. Whoever wins, wins.
In the meantime, this Swissvale store has been given the job of distributing checks for the week UDF did declare bankruptcy. But the folks here don't know if the checks for those not rehired by Schneider's are included in this bunch.
That's why we asked that they call first to find out if theirs are here.
The number to call at this Swissvale store is 271-9882. The employees here say this isn't the first time that checks have been sent to this store to be distributed. They say the last time it happened, they were having to hand out checks and wait on customers at the same time. But they didn't mind the fact that it was hectic. They say they want to see their co-workers get paid, and they hope that tomorrow's decision will mean more pay is on the way. Sally Wiggin, Channel 4 Action News.
The union, representing 2/3 of all state employees, says it will not become a scapegoat, and a one-year pay freeze is out of the question. Legislation has been trotted out in Harrisburg that would freeze the wages of all state workers for 1 year to help cover a projected deficit of $164 million. The union wants an 18-month contract with a 20% pay raise, 5 additional holidays, more sick leave, and a shorter work week. The Thornburg administration is offering a 2% raise for 1 year. So far, there are no takers. Also tonight, efforts to end the state's longest teacher strike remain at a standstill. Today, a group calling itself the Town Meeting Steering Committee told reporters they will ask Governor Thornburg and other state officials to declare the school area a depressed area. The citizens group says it wants a 3-member panel to run the district until the strike ends. It was not a school strike that kept over 1,000 city students out of the classes today. Rather, it was a lack of proper immunization. More than 1,400 Pittsburgh students were sent home after they failed to show proof they'd been immunized against 6 childhood diseases. School officials say they'll accept excused absences from students for the next couple of days, but after that, parents will be fined.
After 3 days, we're going to have the social workers send out legal notices advising the parents that their children are out of school illegally, and we're going the route of parental neglect.
This crackdown is based on a state law requiring all students to be fully immunized against childhood diseases.
The High Sheriff of Mahoning County, Ohio, went on trial today. He is Jim Traficant, the former football hero at the University of Pittsburgh. He is charged with accepting money from the mob, among other things. Nothing really happened today. There were some tapes, which the prosecutor once admitted as evidence. The defense demanded authentication of the tapes, and there was some delay while the lawyers and the judges argued about it. The court may begin picking a jury sometime tomorrow. 32 people in Italy tonight are beginning a new life, a life in prison. They are members of the Red Brigades, a terrorist group responsible for the murder of former Italian Prime Minister Aldo Moro. 27 others received sentences ranging from 4 months to 30 years.
And coming up next on Action News tonight, there's more going on at the University of Pittsburgh tonight than just learning. And nationwide, truckers are saying they're fed up and they won't take any more.
With cold weather and rising energy costs driving up your family's gas bill, you've just got to take advantage of the brakes. People's Gas has a way to help. It's called the optional payment. You don't have to sign up. Just pay the lower of the 2 amounts listed on your gas bill. With optional payment, you can take longer to pay for the gas you use this winter, and it doesn't cost any extra. Give yourself a break. Use People's Gas optional payment. It's the best payment plan in town.
Action News is brought to you in part by the People's Natural Gas Company, part of the Consolidated Natural Gas System.
Now more than ever, your local AMC Jeep Renault dealers are the guys to see for low monthly payments, thanks to 11.9% financing. For example, at $128.97 a month, area dealers can sell you the all-new Alliance 2-door, $128.97 a month for Motor Trend Magazine's Car of the Year. At 11.9%, qualified buyers can enjoy similar low monthly payments on snow-going Eagles and Jeeps. Don't take our word for it. See your local participating AMC Jeep Renault dealer.
There is labor trouble on the Pitt campus tonight. 3 employees of the campus bookstore were suspended for 1 day, and 2 others were fired, allegedly because of their attempts to form a union. Deborah Fox is here with more on that story, Deb.
Thank you, Don. Some employees at the Pitt bookstore say the bookstore is a real moneymaker, only second to the football team. They further say the store generates $3 million a year in sales, yet the employees make a little over minimum wage. That is partly why some of the employees started to organize a union. They've gotten over 1/3 of the workers to sign union cards.
Some Pitt bookstore employees claim that while attempting to get into the wholesale retail department store union local 101, 2 bookstore employees were fired and 3 were suspended. Now, some of the workers claim that the suspensions and firings are directly related to the union activity. The fired and suspended employees have filed grievances with Pennsylvania's Unfair Labor Practices Board. Employees not only cite extremely low wages, they also cite unsafe working conditions, especially in the stockroom.
We keep the wheels of the university spinning. I make $3.70 an hour. In the dishwasher next door makes $3 or $6.35 an hour. Without us, the books would not come in, students could not get their books, classes could not start.
2 Pitt police officers came into the bookstore on January 7th and escorted Tim Brady and another employee out of the building, never telling them why they were doing it. To this day, neither employee knows why they were fired.
Exactly. I think it was a scare tactic to show other people who might be susceptible to being scared that they were going to play tough, and I believe that was wrong.
Have they scared the other employees?
I don't think they have. I think they have a lot of good people there who know what's right and know what's wrong, and know us to know that we didn't do anything wrong and that we were productive employees helping the university in their cause.
And the Vice Chancellor of Human Resources at Pitt says the 2 employees were fired because of just cause. He said the workers have filed grievances and feel it would be unprofessional for the university to comment on the situation until the grievances are heard. Don?
All right, thanks, Deborah. For the next couple of weeks, Congress will be looking into the problems of the unemployed. But if today is any indication, there is not much help on the way. Douglas Fraser, the president of the United Auto Workers Union, met this afternoon with members of the House Energy and Commerce Committee. Fraser wants the panel to push for federally subsidized health care benefits for jobless Americans.
Literally thousands and thousands of people are postponing their health care, and minor health problems are going to become major health problems because of this neglect.
The Congressional Budget Office says that any type of federally backed help would only push the country deeper into debt.
Nationwide, independent truckers are gearing up for a planned strike at the end of this month. And to show Washington they mean business, earlier today a convoy of truckers rolled past the Capitol building. The truckers are protesting higher taxes and fees which will take effect in April. And on the Pennsylvania Turnpike today, truckers we talked to were upset about the provisions of the gas tax bill, which they say will have little to do with road and bridge repairs. The Highway Improvement Act, as it's called, includes provisions for the study of such topics as ferry boats in the Virgin Islands, the minimum drinking age, vending machines, and convict labor. Independent truckers are calling the provisions unnecessary.
Pretty near all was going except for highway use. And the way the roads are now, that's what we need, something to repair the roads.
There's so much in here that has nothing to pertain to trucking. What does vending machine studies have to do with trucking?
Independent truckers are also charging that increased excise taxes will more than double their operating costs over the next 6 years. And many independents are threatening to go on strike later this month.
El Salvador is a long way from Pittsburgh, but what is going on there triggered a protest here today. About 100 people staged a demonstration at the county courthouse protesting the resumption of American military aid to El Salvador. They called on City Council to pass a resolution condemning the aid to the junta. Similar resolutions have been passed by councils in Baltimore, Detroit, and in San Francisco. A similar but less peaceful protest was held today in the nation's capital. Several hundred demonstrators tried to block the diplomatic entrance to the State Department. After ignoring orders from Capitol Police to leave, more than 100 of the protesters were arrested. In California today, protesters blocked the entrance to Vandenberg Air Force Base. That's where the government is doing tests on the controversial MX missile. Several of the protesters were arrested when they broke through an outside fence and came within 500 feet of the main gate. Congress is expected to vote on the MX sometime this spring. Up next on Action News tonight, the nation's worst nuclear accident avoids a date in court. And believe it or not, congressmen are good sports, even when they lose.
Now, the revolutionary new sweetener discovery you've heard about is here. Introducing Equal.
A news story in the Washington Post reports, goodbye saccharin, sugar, and calories.
A story in the Chicago Sun-Times reports a taste virtually indistinguishable from sugar.
New low-calorie Equal. Tastes like sugar, and it's made without saccharin, so it has no bitter aftertaste.
Sensational.
Welcome to the sweet life of Equal.
From out of the distance comes a driver's car. Pontiac 2000 for 1983. A car that takes on the road with a smooth shifting 5-speed transmission with overdrive. The ready response of electronic fuel injection. And the steady wheeling power of an overhead cam 4-cylinder engine. Pontiac 2000. Pure driving pleasure. At Pontiac, we build excitement.
The company that built the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant has sidestepped a $4 billion lawsuit. But in doing so, Babcock & Wilcox has agreed to provide up to $37 million for service and equipment to the operators of the plant. The suit was filed last year because of the 1979 nuclear accident at that plant.
Well, it wasn't exactly Stanley looking for Livingston, but under the famous Kaufman's clock today, where a huge crowd of onlookers gathered around, City Council person Michelle Madoff was waiting for Council President Jeep DePasquale to show. A meeting he promised if Madoff was able to collect more than $20 on her proposed voluntary head tax on suburban city workers. Channel 4's Al McDowell was there.
Hey there, 1,500 bucks. And more to come. People don't know to make their check out to the treasurer, City of Pittsburgh. Voluntary head tax, and folks, it's a tax write-off, and the City of Pittsburgh is in debt. Their U.S. Steel, $1.5 billion.
Michelle, you've been stood up.
I wonder, he said he wouldn't be here, but he told me he would, and he's a man of honor, I'm sure.
Well, when Jeep was a no-show, Madoff went to Plan B. She pulled out a stuffed donkey, out of a bag and called it a fitting substitute. In Washington today, the House Majority Leader Jim Wright of Texas paid off his bet. Wright had backed the Dallas Cowboys in Saturday's championship game against the Washington Redskins, and he lost. He's not the only one. So today, wearing appropriate Redskin regalia, he had to give the winner a bet on a ride to a Dallas Cowboy wheelbarrow. The winner of the bet, by the way, was District of Congressman Columbia, District Walter Fauntleroy. I'd like to try that one again.
Yes, he wrote that while he was in a wheelbarrow.
On the other hand, what's going on in sports tonight?
After the news, I'm going to get that whole story from you because
I'll never get it straight. Okay.
Do you want to do the sports?
No.
No, okay. Yeah, the way the Penguins are playing defense, I think Michelle Dion and Dennis Harrow would be glad to finish the season with a goals against average somewhere around your bowling average. Tonight, the Penguins were playing one of two teams in the league with fewer points than they had. You'll notice I said had, and we'll show you why. The Penguins got off to a good start. They went into Toronto, as I said, one of the two worst road teams in hockey. The Penguins and Toronto were two of the worst teams on the road, and the Penguins looked like they thought they were in Pittsburgh for a while there. When you see this tape coming up, you'll see what I mean. There it is. The Penguins, Gary Rissling. We're looking there at the Bruins and the Rangers, sports fans. And that made it 3-0 when Tom Fergus made that goal right there in the third period. 3-0 Boston. Don Maloney feeds Vaklov Nedemensky 3-1. That broke the shutout for Peters. Bruins won at 3-1. That was the Bruins and the Rangers. And Pitt won for the first time in the Big East Saturday when they beat Seton Hall. Tomorrow night, you can see Pitt try to win another one in the Big East. Pitt plays at Boston College. We have the game here on Channel 4. And now we have the Penguin highlights ready. We're going to show you those. Here we go. First period, Gary Rissling, number 23. That's less than a minute into the game. It was 1-0. Less than a minute later, Dave Hannon, 2-0 Pittsburgh. And now get ready. This is what happened. Still in the first period. Rick Vive, 2-1. Later in the first, Peter Inanak, 2-2. Still second, Vive again, 3-2 Toronto. Pass Dion. Second period, Inanak, 4-2 Toronto. Second period, George Gavin, 5-2 Toronto. Second period, John Anderson, 6-2 Toronto. Third period, Borge Salming, 7-2 Toronto. And third period, Greg Terrian. And it's an 8-2 final. What do you see this bench here? I think the Penguins look like they're happy. Long night. Now we're going to take a look at, let's go to the college basketball scores. As I said, Pitt is playing Boston College tomorrow night. You'll see that game here on Channel 4. There was a game in the Big East tonight, Villanova and St. John's. And here it is, John Pannone. Right here puts Villanova up by 7. Right there. 7-point lead early in the game. Now watch this, David Russell. The alley-oop from St. John's. Kevin Williams right there puts St. John's ahead. Now the score tied right at this point. Goaltending is called on St. John's right there. Villanova led 37-35 at the half. Second half, Ed Pinckney puts Villanova up 49-41. But from that point on, it was all St. John's. They came back. Warrington. 3 points on that one, a 3-point play. St. John's led 56-53. David Russell, that was also a 3-point play. St. John's was 35 of 38 from the free throw line. And watch how they ended the game. David Russell. I think they call that a 360. Now we're going to look at the basketball scores. St. John's 80, Villanova 71, Arkansas 83, Texas 64, Mississippi 64, Alabama 63, and Tennessee beat Auburn 80-77. Well, in the next several weeks, you're going to hear a lot about high school kids deciding where they're going to go to play college football. A lot of the names won't mean much to you, but if you followed high school football at all this past season, you know that Tim Manawa of North Allegheny is probably the best prospect around here. He's 6'2", 215. He plays running back or linebacker. At least he did in high school. He'll play fullback next year, and he'll play it at Penn State. He announced that today. Manawa had offers from everywhere, including Pitt and West Virginia. A couple of other notes here. Bill Walsh will grace us all with his genius again next year. The world was holding its breath waiting for Bill to decide whether or not he would coach. Today, Bill said he would. Ellis Valentine signed a contract with California. He was a free agent, and the only team that had drafted him was the Pirates, and Duquesne plays Marquette tomorrow night at the arena. And now Don's going to do that story
Jim
again.
Wright gave Walter Fauntleroy a ride in a Dallas Cowboy wheelbarrow.
What is a Dallas Cowboy wheelbarrow?
Don't press the issue, John. Let it go for that. Thank you. American car makers aren't the only ones having troubles these days. In fact, one of our biggest competitors, Japan, is having the same problem. Japan's two largest car manufacturers, Toyota and Nissan, say their production and exports are both down. They blame foreign protectionism and sluggish demand worldwide. Well, foreign car sales may be off, but business in used cars, very used cars, is booming at the bottom of the Ohio River. Today, the Campbell barge lines dredged 30 waterlogged rusting hulks out of the river at the front of Light Hill Street in the Manchester district. The river, it seems, has become a dumping ground for car thieves and swindlers trying to rip off insurance companies. And the people who keep our cars on the road are having trouble staying on track. That story and more coming up next.
Why don't we just update last year's figures?
Oh, no, there's been a lot of changes in the tax laws. Look, since we both work, we can exclude up to $1,500 of income this year.
Dollars?
Not only that, but there's an increased child care credit, and it's easy to claim.
There they go again. Don't you just dread tax time?
And non-itemizers can even claim a charitable contribution this year.
How do you know so much?
I read this free IRS publication.
82 tax changes.
It gives full details on all the changes. And look, here it is. We can each take a $100 exclusion from our dividends. That's $200.
Great.
I know.
And look at this.
It's a good thing we wrote to the IRS.
Oh, look at that one.
That'd help a lot.
I know.
For a free copy of Publication 553, write to the IRS.
If you created the perfect game for your family, you'd want it to be entertaining for grown-ups, fun for the kids, and a lot of laughs. You might add a dash of skill, a pinch of strategy, and a little bit of luck. Of course, you'd make it simple to play, but fill it with surprises. What would you have when you finished?
Uno!
Well, what do you know? Uno. No wonder you can't say no to Uno, America's family get-together.
Uno!
The Arab oil cartel that once had the world waiting in line to fill her up tonight can't decide what to do next. OPEC leaders have broken off their emergency meeting in Geneva after failing to come up with any answers to the worldwide oil glut. That glut could force prices down still further. Good news for us, but bad news for OPEC. Meanwhile, there's more news out of Harrisburg tonight on mandatory auto emissions tests.